I don't know, comic books, I think there will always be comics. I think people will always enjoy word balloons and characters and following panel by panel, because it's the closest thing you can come to a movie without seeing a movie. But you'll certainly see more of them on the internet. They'll be digital. And if any new inventions come along, there'll be that too. But I think the actual comic book, printed material on a piece of paper, it'll always exist. Maybe they won't sell as many copies as they did, but there's still something nice about holding a comic book and turning the pages and going back and seeing what you missed, and it's a nice feeling. But comics are going to be all over, and right now they're represented in the movies. So comics are just stories, and wherever there are stories, there'll be comics.
You know, yesterday at lunch we were talking about some of the other projects that are coming down the pipe. What are some of the other superheroes that you know that they're developing films for?
All of them. They're developing. I know they're working on Doctor Strange. Yeah, by the hoary oaths of Hoggett, there will be a Doctor Strange. They're working on Ant-Man, even. That requires a little camera. They're working on the Black Panther. One of my favorites. And they're probably working on the Inhumans and all the others, and any characters that are popular at Marvel, you can be sure somebody is writing an outline for a movie for it.
I think that's great. You were, well, my last question before I throw it out to the audience. You were, if I remember correctly, were the first person to give the other artists and writers credit in the actual strip itself. Why did you do that?
Well, because I was a very generous, loving person. I wanted to make the comics more like movies, and movies have credits, so I always liked the idea. Written by Stan Lee, drawn by Jack Kirby, lettered by... And then I tried to make them funny, like, see if I can think of one. I tried to write something like, written with zeal by Stan Lee, and drawn with enthusiasm by Jack Kirby, inked with genius by Joe Sinnott, and lettered with a leaky pen point. I always tried to make the credits something that would be fun to read too.
I think you have a lot of people out here that are glad that you did that, because they
glad to
now as well. So do we have a credit or a question from the audience?
We do. The first question back here by the pit.
Okay.
What could there possibly be to ask after I've said everything?
Well, no pressure now, but good morning, sir. It's an honor to get to speak with you. You have no doubt inspired generations of artists, writers, myself included, created characters that will probably live on for all time. My question is, going back to the early days of your work, because I know I have a certain attachment to some of my characters. Have you ever felt like it was really difficult for you to say, hand off your work to someone else? Because you've had so many different people work on characters that you yourself have created. Have you ever felt like a certain attachment to the point that, maybe, I wouldn't say made you sad, but you've had so many people write the characters that you've created, and over the course of time, maybe more so than anyone else. Have you ever just kind of felt like maybe a loss or a sense of pride, or how does that make you feel?
You understand the question?
Have I ever felt bad about giving a script to someone else?
Yeah, handing off the character to somebody else.
Yeah. Yes.
Next question.
I hated having to give the strips over to other people, but I knew it was necessary. I couldn't write them forever. At one point, they made me the publisher, so I stopped writing and I went around the world really talking about Marvel and promoting it. Most publishers stay in the office and publish. I don't even know how to publish, so I talked about Marvel. That's what I did. And the funny thing is, when I didn't write the stories, I didn't read them. I can't tell you what any other writers wrote, because I knew I'd be unhappy. Not that they might not be even better than mine, but I would just be unhappy that I wasn't writing them. So I just don't read them anymore. People tell me what they are, and I say, that sounds good, but I don't.
Has there ever been a story that you have written that you wanted to go back and say, gee, I wish I had changed?
Oh no, they were all wonderful.